Welcome to Human or Athlete, episode 9. I'm so excited to bring with you Craig Tanner, formerly at Reading, Motherwell, and now at Aldershot. Excited to have you on here, Craig.
Pleasure. Looking forward to it.
Brilliant. So we'll go straight in as usual, and kind of look at like why do you play football and what's kind of like why have you decided to pursue it as a career, and what did that journey take you?
Started when I was properly young, really. I think I just remember growing up and I think my mum and dad used to joke, like, I used to be like kicking my mum in the stomach when I was in her belly all the time. So I think they always joked that I used to be, or knew that I'd be a footballer. And obviously my dad played just locally and that anyway, nothing major. And my brother was into it. So I sort of just fell into it, found out I was semi-decent at it and sort of just rolled with it, really. I never really had a massive plan when I was younger to be a professional footballer. I used to just love being out and about. Can't really sit still, so always just doing something, and football's normally at my feet.
Love it. Is there kind of like it's just that present moment kind of just love for football that just always kind of carried you through it?
Yeah, I didn't really like think anything of it. Didn't think like, oh, I want to become a professional footballer. It's just all my mates played football. I
Hmm.
played football, and just literally just grew up in sort of like a football environment. So I
Yeah.
used to just play for my school football, obviously, then played for my local team, Camberley Town, and just went on from there. Sort of just fell into place, I suppose. It's the best
Yeah,
way to put it.
just so natural. And what were your experiences like, kind of at Reading and at Motherwell, and that journey through? If you kind of talk us through it.
Yeah, so obviously I started at Reading really young when I think I was 7 when they first tried to sign me, but you can't legally sign till you're 9 or something like that. So I used to play for Reading on a Sunday and then Camberley Town on Saturday. So lucky my dad didn't mind driving me to football, but I think he quite enjoyed it anyway. And then yeah, just went all the way through the age groups, all the way up through. Normally played like a year above myself, all the way sort of through. Got obviously into academy football, done all of that all the way through. Made my debut, and then went out on loan to Plymouth, to Wimbledon first. Spent 20 games there. Played up front with like Akinfenwa and stuff like that. So it was cool, like a good experience. Go from academy football into proper men's football, where academy is very much on the floor passing, where that's hit channels, win your seconds and stuff like that. So it's quite a good chance to see where I sort of stand in the men's game rather than like the sheltered academy football. So then from there went to Plymouth, spent 2 years at Plymouth on loan there. Done really well, had a great time down there. Then they were all loans, and then I left Reading and signed for Motherwell on a permanent. Played up there for a while, and then signed back down south at Aldershot.
Love it. Was there kind of in that space, especially as an academy like kind of player growing through, were there kind of players you looked up to or people you looked up to at the club, and kind of experiences with those that were kind of like wow, like that's something you won't forget?
I wouldn't necessarily say so. I think I was quite lucky because the generation at the time at Reading's first team was sort of their golden generation. It's one which is spoken about quite a lot. People like Jem Caracan, Shane Long, Alex Pearce, Harrobson Carnu. A lot of that core, Gylfi Sigurdsson, was all through the academy.
Hmm.
So it was sort of like quite naturally, and they naturally looked after you rather than having such like big hitters in and around who don't really know the ethos or the mentality of the club. So for me, like it was quite straightforward all the way through. I wouldn't really say there was any like starstruck moments. I've always sort of been quite relaxed and calm person anyway, so I wouldn't really say there was any assurance. It was quite straightforward, plain sailing.
Brilliant, I love it. It was it's kind of obviously important, especially as a young player myself, just being so kind of naturally like natural and feeling so calm in that environment already, because that jump from 23s to first team or whatever is so difficult, and a lot of clubs obviously they're not combined or whatever, but experience at Salford with that, and it's just a nightmare because then you go into these environments and it's just so out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, no, I do feel like it can be a struggle for sure. But I do feel like football's quite overcomplicated at times.
Hmm.
Especially like I think a lot of people put way too much pressure on themselves to like at the end of the day, if we were to go and you were to go to the park and play football with your mates, why should that be any different to how you're going to want to go play in an actual game? Like it's at the end of the day, it's a game of football, and you win, you lose, you might play well, you might play bad, but if you actually break, it's just a game of football. Like there's no there's no need to really panic about everything. Like, you have a bad game, you're still going to go home and do the same as if you have a good game. Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So I think a lot of people, especially young lads, probably do like hang themselves up on, they have one bad performance, they might think, oh no, like that's my career over and stuff like that. But just got to relax into it and just think like, well, what's the point of doing it if you're not having fun, or when you can't have fun if you're not relaxed? So just it's just a game of football is the be all end all to it.
Exactly. I mean, that's obviously what such a big part of this podcast is about, is just showing that there's so much more to life than football. And that, again, how many different methods and way of looking at football and other sports that you can have in such a like a loving, just kind of joyful, like approaching it like that in terms of the journey and doing it and playing it, rather than just worrying about contract to contract or bad game to bad game. Um, Obviously, you had that kind of your was it ruptured patella tendon at Motherwell. Kind of talk to me about that injury and what was it like, and what happened with that.
So yeah, like I was flying at the time, to be honest, like probably like on the top of my game, scoring, assisting, I had good stats, playing every week in big games, and I was really enjoying it. And then it was just like a training ground injury. Um, Obviously, like I had like a little bit of tendonitis before, which is common. I had it for a while, so I used to just pop painkillers just to like sort of get through here and there. More just because like there's quite a lot of big games coming up. It's always seemed to be like I have big games when my knees might be a bit like sore or something, so I just used to take painkillers. And then yeah, just went to hit. I think we're leading up to play Celtic, and just went to hit like cut inside onto my left. Went to hit a diag across field, and yeah, my whole like knee just snapped. Like lads could hear it from like the other side of the pitch, like a pop sound, and like my kneecap went up into like halfway up my leg really. So it was yeah, it was a real tough time, to be fair, and it's one I don't really massively like speaking about because it comes with a lot of negativity, and like I was in quite a bad place at times with it, but now I'm past that. I'm quite open to talk to lads who have maybe suffered on that side of the game of it. So in a way,
Yeah.
I do obviously it's I won't say it's a good thing because obviously I'm still trying to get over certain aspects of it, but it's good that I feel comfortable enough to now start speaking about it.
Yeah, that's obviously incredibly important. What was it like in the kind of the first few months, and how you like approached that first few months, that initial kind of period?
Yeah, well, I'm sort of the sort of guy who just like I said to you, I can't sit still, so I just cracked on with it straight away.
Hmm.
It was going actually really well. The surgeon, the specialist, was really happy with it, and then yeah, I sort of just like hit a brick wall where I just wouldn't put any muscle bulk on, and I couldn't really walk downstairs properly, and my knee kept like juddering and giving way. So got like MRI scans and stuff like that, and so in the end they decided to go back into the knee um, through like I don't know, like one of the little cameras, or whatever. I looked going on, found like a big bit of scar tissue going on. So that's probably like 8 months into it. They decided to go back into it, cleared out the scar tissue, and yeah, that was like. And then it started feeling really good. And then I took like a massive decline and ended up getting like a cellulitis from the operation, so like a huge infection into my leg. Was like rushed to hospital. Spent like 3 nights in hospital on antibiotics, like totally out of it, and then pretty much had to restart my whole rehab process all over again.
Unbelievable! Wow. Um, yeah, like talk to me about kind of what was so like the mental kind of difficulties around it. Yeah, like the loneliness and the mental health, because like you said, I think it obviously is very difficult for people to talk about stuff that like trauma and stuff like this where things go wrong. But at the same time, I think in football there's also kind of this big kind of illusion that everything's always going to be all right. Like the common question is like when you back fit, or just like does it still hurt? You just kind of get those really much basic avoiding like the real thing with it, and instead of asking really people how they are. And I think more people, the more people that talk about it and show just a little bit more vulnerability, not out of weakness or anything, but out of strength. I think the better, because obviously loads of people are probably going through similar stuff right now, whether it's injuries or mental health stuff, especially with lockdown and football, the football environment. So, kind of, if you're okay with it, kind of talk us through what it felt like and what what kind of situation you were in mentally.
Yeah, I said my mental health was it really in quite a bad way, to be honest. I think I was probably struggling for about 4 months before maybe I opened up to one of the lads. Well, actually, he pulled me aside. To be fair, he took me for a coffee, pulled me aside, and said, "Look, what's going on?" Like, you could tell, like I wasn't sleeping. I was quiet. I sort of really distant myself because every day was the same. Like waking up in pain, going to like spend 3, 4, 5 hours in a gym on your own, but in pain the whole time, trying to do exercises, trying to like force through something which probably wasn't right to force through at that time, but due to having the scar tissue or due to having the infection, like so I was in a bad place. So he pulled me aside and said, "Look, you need to go speak to someone." Obviously, my girlfriend Molly, she knew I was struggling. She at times like have to like drag me out of bed and sort of like get me going and make sure I was all right. So she was probably my rock, to be fair. So I was really lucky to have her. So obviously, eventually, I spoke to the club doctor a bit reluctantly. He obviously, yeah, put me on some tablets and that, but like that's as far as it went. He sort of just gave me that, and there was no real aftercare with it, which I look back now and I think that's quite wrong. I think the
Hmm.
club definitely knew I was struggling. I don't think they probably did enough either. They didn't once pull me in and ask how mentally I was,
Hmm.
or if I needed to speak to someone or anything like that. And the one thing that I think I've realised is for some reason clubs still haven't like put in place. Every club should have like a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Like I don't see why that's not in place in this modern game. When you see so many people coming out with it, why is there not an actual staff member? Like if you have a throw-ins coach, why is there not a psychologist coach? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
such like especially to deal with the people who are going through long-term injuries or troubles off the pitch. So obviously, I'd say yeah, I got through it in the end, and I'm definitely it put a different perspective on football and life for me. So I think once you do get through that stage, you do learn a lot about not just yourself, but life and the ins and outs of football.
Yeah. Wow. It's firstly, it's incredible. Like, I'm incredibly grateful to hear that, and obviously that you've made that growth and those changes, and to see it how you do, it's incredible. Um, how important was that support system there, and that friend that came and helped you, and what, like you said, apart obviously the psychiatrist and stuff like that. Is there any other kind of changes that you'd want if you were to go back and go through something like that? How would you mentally approach it, and how would you kind of take that on?
Yeah, obviously the support network is key, and I've definitely taken that into to me now going to approaching lads who I think might be struggling or if they're having a bad day. Like I'll definitely go out my way to speak to anyone these days. I'm definitely more open to talk to people where before I was probably very much like just orientated on a sole thing and I didn't want to be that person to bring things up to people, but now I don't really care. Like, I'll just be like, look, you're all right, what's going on? Like, let's go grab a coffee. I'm very
Mhm.
much that sort of person now. And I think it took someone very similar to be able to do that to me, for me now to be able to do that to someone else. And I hope that's me doing that to someone else might be able to then start him doing that to someone else and sort of start a bit of a chain reaction. Because there's more good people in football, the better, because it is an industry full of maybe, like you said, people who aren't always honest, and it's a very backstabby industry. So the more good people you can get, the better. And I just feel like if I could go back, I don't really know what I would change, just because it was just constant bad luck. And I think
Mhm.
there's nothing I could probably have done differently to affect it. That's just part of the process of that, how that injury went. So it's nothing I could have done more. It's just how the luck fell for me.
Yeah, it's incredibly difficult. Were there any kind of moments that you recall from that time period where you had like a little bit of those relievances from the dark, from dark times and stuff like that? Any kind of moments where you're like, I'm glad I did that, and kind of for people that are literally going through it right now, where can they find a little bit of hope, a bit, a light in a tough place?
Sometimes just step back from the situation. Like if you're pushing yourself every day, constantly, it's okay to step back for a few days, a week or two, to like just regather yourself. Like if you're going through a long injury, 1 week isn't going to affect 9 months,
Hmm.
10 months, a year, 2 weeks even. Like you want to just have a day where you just go in and you chill, you relax, or you don't go in and you just decide, look, I'm gonna go for like, a nice walk. Or for me, walking was a big outlet for me. I used to go up into like the mountains in Scotland and just switch off, like just walk the dog, and just like you can just take a step back. If you want a beer, have a beer. If you want a bit of food, have a bit of food. Like at the end of the day, like when you do come back, you're gonna be blowing no matter what. You can do all the fitness work and push yourself all you want, but you're still gonna be blowing. So it's like don't put too much pressure on yourself. And if you need a few days, take a few days. Because normally, if you do step back, you then take 3 steps forward.
100%. I think being kinder to yourself is a huge thing, and again in football, it's always about performance this, performance that, and people get swept up in it. And sometimes it's okay to be kind to yourself and to just do those sort of things. But walking's huge because it turns off kind of like the fight, flight, kind of freeze, anxiety, and everything. So again, for a lot of people, especially in lockdown when there's not much else you can do,
No.
it's a great tool. I don't think people kind of use it enough, and it's kind of got an old lady stigma around it. But it's just a great little tool to have in your locker, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Like I always, like me, the missus will go walk the dog and leave your phones at home and go walk
Hmm.
for an hour, or just even sometimes I put my headphones in and I walk on my own, and it's when I get some of like my best ideas. I think, oh look, maybe I could do this, or I want to go cook this dinner, or stuff like that. It's where you find a bit more of like you can switch off from the constant sort of pressure you put on yourself. And when you're sitting around feeling slobbish, you don't like it all just builds up. So just get out and just have a little look, and like even just like walking, but keep your head up because you actually see what's going on in the world instead of like walking with your phone in your hand.
Hmm.
Just like so much. I just don't like how everyone puts so much pressure on themselves, whether it's in football or gym work or stuff like that. Just there's no need to put so much pressure on everyone.
No, that is honestly incredible advice, and yeah, people like listen need to take that on board because the power of a walk, the power of stepping back is just such a simple thing, that slowing down, but it's so overlooked because it doesn't give you the instant benefits. It doesn't give you the instant. Like, there's no instant change for how you're doing it necessarily, but it helps so much. Um, Obviously, you've got a knee injury at the moment, right? How was obviously going through that whole injury? How has it changed how you've taken on this one?
Um, yeah, just a lot more relaxed with it, really. Just like maybe because it's not as serious, and it's more of a straightforward one. It's like I know I'm going to be back playing, so it's no like where ruptured tendon. I was at times like 15 pages deep on Google trying to find this master exercise which is going to help. But like it's just you just got to just go with the process, and like you're going to be back fit. You just take your time with it. Obviously, I want to be playing. I love playing football, but at the same time, you'd rather miss one more game than miss another 4 weeks. So
Hmm.
definitely a lot more relaxed with it, and I think I'm got better coping mechanisms in place for these sort of things. And definitely, even when I'm back playing football, I'm exactly the same and so much more relaxed with the whole process.
What would you say some of your coping mechanisms are, if you haven't already mentioned them?
Just find a new like I like cooking and stuff like that. So finding like new recipes and like going online or getting a cookbook and actually communicating and cooking something with my girlfriend together, or whether it's going on Warzone with my friends and like we just don't discuss football, like just
Hmm.
actually grow as a person and have conversations. Because like what I've learned as well is that a lot of people in relationships will only talk about football, and like everything's geared towards, all right, Friday night I've got to have pasta, and then I've got to be up at this time, and I can't do this because I've got a game at 3 o'clock, and like I said earlier, it's only a game of football. Like
Hmm.
just totally just relax with it, and your performances will 100% get better.
Brilliant. I love it. Coming back from injury, when you returned from that from your patella rupture, how did you approach that? Because I'm guessing there must have been obviously a lot of fear around it and a lot of anxiety with playing on it. I know from just little ankle injuries and stuff like that that it's scary time kind of coming back in. And how did you approach that, and what was that like?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm just a bit weird with it all, but I just thought like, well, I've done all this work. I can, because it was quite like the program injury I had to do was quite a lot of heavy load lifting, like heavy
Hmm.
weights, and a lot of occlusion training, and it was like a really heavy duty rehabilitation process. So I just thought, like, my first session out there, I just thought, well, look, if it's gonna go, it's gonna go. I can't do anything about it. I couldn't have done it anymore. I can't, if it's just meant to be. But at the end of the day, you might as well just go in for it and see if it is, because there's no point like dipping your toe in and doing that for 6 weeks. You might as well just jump in and go for it. And I mean, it worked for me. So I just feel like
Yeah.
sometimes as well, when you dip your toe in, you then end up like carrying yourself through other things and pulling out of tackles. But where I sort of said to the lads who were like, a few of them were like dilly dallying around me, and I said, look, just smash me, like, let me get used to being hit. Like, I need you to come through the back of me when I'm holding it up, or I need you to leave a bit on me. Like, treat me like any other person, because it's the only way you're going to get back to level you were. So.
Brilliant. No, yeah, that's this, and it's like, you can't control that. You've done it, like you said, you've done everything in your power to come back and get ready, and it's no longer, something that you can control and do anything about. So
yeah, for sure. And then like I said, and then obviously when I left Motherwell, I ended up signing for Aldershot because I know I've done the graft, and I know I've taken the hits in the training. When I signed for Aldershot, I went straight in and played 90 minutes in 3 weeks after like
wow.
20 months, 21 months out. So you just literally, you might as well just go for it, because if it's gonna go, it's gonna go, and that's something you can't control.
Incredible. I love it. What have you learned from the whole process, the whole kind of 2 years, coming back in at Aldershot from, the start at Motherwell? Like, what would you say you've taken from this whole experience?
I'd say I'm definitely much more of, maybe I'll try and be a bit more of a leader. So I'm 26, which is still young in football, but I look back and I feel like I've achieved quite a lot for what I've done so far. Whether that's like playing in like important games, big games, losing in big games, going through mental challenges, going through injuries. So I'm more just try and be a bit more like present in the dressing room and try offer that sort of support where I can, and then also lead on the pitch. And if I'm outrunning someone, or I'm outscoring someone from where I was to where I am now, then why can't everyone else get to that sort of level?
Mm-hmm. No, I love it. It's brilliant. And I think obviously a key part is that how long did you take your break after Motherwell? And obviously they offered you a contract and then you went to Aldershot. What was that kind of period like, taking a break from football?
Yeah, I think I put so much into coming back from the injury over that time, and then I put so much through the whole pre-season. Obviously, there was stuff which went on behind the scenes, which is just something that I probably won't go into ever until I maybe retire. Like promises which weren't upheld. So I sort of got myself back, and I was like, well, I've just lost the love for it. I felt like I put so much effort into it. It just wasn't, the view wasn't what I thought it'd be at the top. So I felt like I just needed to step back and just take a bit of time out, like reconnect with myself and people around me, and just take a little break from everything, because I've done that much. Like, I know I'm back fit, I know I'm back playing. Like, let's now just clear all the fog and step back a bit, and because I know I'll be able to go and back myself to go get a team. So I had to take step back due to financial side of it, due to promises which weren't there. So step back, went in, just did some work, picked up work where I can, kept the bills like getting paid, and then just slowly been building myself back up.
It's brilliant. I think again it takes a lot of not only awareness to know that, just because you're not loving it or just because that isn't right, to be able to take a step back, and then also the courage, I think, is brilliant, because I think in football, especially younger footballers, is everything seems like, you have zero control over the decisions the club's running, like, everything, the coaches, and then you're obviously your agents telling you what to do here, playing left, right and centre. And to be able to take some responsibility and go, this is what I want to do, this is what's best for me as a person, I think that's incredibly courageous and kind of, standing up for yourself again.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, no one knows what's going on until you lived a day in the life of somebody. So if that person is doing something for some reason, then just got to respect it. Whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, is just support them through it, because you never know what they're going through. So, like, sometimes like I said, you just got to step back and just reevaluate things, because things go at 100 miles an hour and you can miss a lot. So just got to be a lot more relaxed with everything.
Yeah, no, I love it, and I think these values that you're talking about, of stepping back, slowing down, um, are so vital. What would you kind of say that is your approach for kind of those values, and now how you're going to pursue the future, and what's kind of next for you with football and also as a person?
So yeah, football. Obviously, I'll be back playing probably in like 3-4 weeks into training and that. I just like leading up to a match. Like I'd go for a walk, maybe like 4 or 5k, just chill out really. Like mong about in the morning, nothing really exciting. Um, then yeah, just rock up to the game, have a coffee, chill out in the dressing room, have a little warm up, and then yeah, just go and play. Really, I just feel like, and I sit around sometimes. I just watch everyone like doing crazy stretches and like listening to like music bopping along at like 1:30. I'm like, why? Like, there's no need to do that. Like you're gonna, I don't, in my opinion, like you're gonna go do a warm up anyway. So what are you getting from like doing this extra little bit of warm up now? What's the whole point of going out 45 minutes before? It's like building up anxiety and building yourself up, and then that all comes in a performance, and then you think, oh, I haven't performed well. Is this why? Or I performed really well. I need to keep doing this. Where you could have a good, you could play unbelievably, and next week you could be terrible. Like it's just that's just what it is. You could just be having one of them days. So I'll just try just live going into a game of football like I just live my life. Really, I don't try do too much. I don't try do too little. I just live it like a normal day.
I love it. It's brilliant. What kind of your dreams now? Do you have any kind of dreams as to where you want to go?
Obviously, I've sort of come to terms with when I started and realised in academy football, obviously, you want to go play in the Premiership and the Championship and stuff like that. But that was the path I wanted to take. But I've sort of come to the realisation, obviously due to the injury, and I lost 2 years and sort of rebuilding my name and my CV again, that maybe my career is going to go in a different sort of journey, but it doesn't make it any less fun or interesting and stuff like that. So sort of just I've come to terms that I'm not maybe going to go into the championship again, but doesn't mean that I can't go pursue something and maybe go make a move which will have a really good lifestyle for me and my girlfriend, or something which just suits us a bit more off the pitch. Whether it's like nice coffee shops, nice mountains to walk in, places to walk the dog, stuff like that, but still enjoy my football and still pushing hard to have the best stats I can get, because I just love assisting and scoring goals, and that's what I like to do, and that's obviously what teams bring me in to do. So I've realised maybe it's time to open a different door and go down on a different path, but it doesn't make it any less of a good path. It's just a different path.
I love it. I think that's brilliant. And then to end off kind of every kind of podcast, we've been asking the question as to what makes you more than an athlete and what makes you human.
Um, just be myself. Like I don't try to put a persona on. I think I am who I am, and I don't feel like. Oh, really? It's a hard question to answer, isn't it? But I think I'm just myself, and I won't change for anyone. I won't change for anyone. I believe that I have a good heart, I have a good core to my person and my personality, and I just try give as much kindness and have a good laugh and just live life and just smile when you can. Really.
Brilliant. I love it. Wow. That's, I think, a really insightful kind of conversation for everyone listening. There's so much advice for, a young player in a way that's been through so much. And again, a big, focus on slowing down and appreciating life and, relaxing and controlling what you can do. And that's that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just don't put too much pressure on yourself. Like I said, it's only a game of football, so you win, you lose, you play well, you play bad. One game's not going to define you, is it? As long as you don't let bad habits creep in and you keep your same like moral compass in the right direction, then it should be pretty sweet.
Brilliant. I absolutely love it. Thank you for coming on, Craig.
Absolute pleasure, anytime.